everyone. It is a little after 6 p.m. Our time, and we're excited to have this wonderful middle grade fantasy author, Esme Symes-Smith, join us this evening here, well, virtually at South Orange Public Library. And I want to thank you to a wonderful patron and parent, Zoe Berkovic, for reaching out and making the connections to make this all happen. So thank you very much. And thank you, Esme, for joining us today. This is
Thanks for having me. Oh my goodness.
Amazing. Even with the technological glitches, this is wonderful that you're able to join us. And I'm hoping that we can do things similar to this as we progress throughout the year, sort of like checking in with an author, you know, like, what are you doing
Listen,
now?
all authors are up for it. It's just a matter of asking.
Yeah. Hey, other Ash.
So,
Hi.
So my name is Keisha Miller. I am the head of youth services at South Orange Public Library. And it's just a really neat way just to say I'm in charge of everything and all the things, which I oversee for children and teens, for newborn right on up to 18. But a lot of my kids are either the really little ones, toddlers, or I want to say your third, fourth, fifth graders. So we have a lot of readers here in South Orange, and we're so happy to have you this evening. So to introduce you, Esme, I am going to rely on the wonderful knowledge of a super fan, Ash Berkovic. But before we do that, anyone who is joining, going forward, we just ask that you mute yourselves. I have 2 dogs here, and I'm sure they'll find something to bark at. So I'm going to mute myself. And Ash, I'm going to turn it over to you for the introduction to our lovely, amazing author this evening.
All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Esme Symes-Smith, who is the author of a trilogy called Sir Callie. The first book is Sir Callie and the Champions of Helston. The second one is Sir Callie and the Dragon's Roost, and the third one, and so far the most recent one, is Sir Callie and the Witch's War. You don't have the first one.
I got it. There we go.
Yes, I also have it. I have all 3 of your books in my house right now. Actually, I have The Witch's War right there. And they live with 2 furballs, and I quote from the back of book 1.
Yeah, one of them's right there. She's being good right now, but she was.
Yeah. Oh, I love cats. I also have 2 cats.
Naughty dogs.
And Sir Callie is a trilogy that it is a fantastical medieval adventure with queerness of all types and diversity as far as the eye can see. And it is amazing, which each one being better than the last.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And I'm really excited for y'all to read the 4th one next year.
There's going to be a 4th one next year?
Yeah, 4th and final, baby. It's a quartet.
Wait, Fiona? Hi! By the way, I may or may not have gone to like my GSA group chats and just said, "Hey, anybody want to be in the author visit?"
Love that.
So,
Hey, Ash.
Hi. So, I'm pretty sure, yep, all 4 of us are from our school's GSA.
Amazing. I love GSAs.
Yeah. Except for some reason it's called Spectrum in our school. But anyway, on to you.
Thank you so much, Ash, for that introduction. So, Fiona, Ash Papowski, Nico, we were just saying this is going to be a totally chill conversation. Hello to you all. My name is Miss Keisha. I am the head of youth services at the library. So make sure that you stop on by because we're over at the Baird Center. We have a branch over there. So come on by and you can check out the first one if you haven't read it, the second, and the third, and soon to be 4th. Maybe?
Yes, soon to be 4th. It's just gone into copy edits, which means they're going to fact check me on everything. But yeah, no, I'm super excited. I'm really happy with the way it all ties up, and I hope it's satisfying to y'all as readers. Ooh, I'm very excited.
Okay. So you started out with this being a trilogy. Well, with the
Well,
first book,
actually, I started
obviously.
it out being one book, and then when my editor bought it, they were like, "Hey, so do you want to make it more?" And I'm just like, okay." So then it was going to be two books, and then with the idea of talking about more later. And then when I was finishing up Dragon's Roost, I was like, well, if this is the last book, I can finish it one way. If it's not the last book, I can finish it a different way. And she was just like, well, how many books do you want? And I'm just like, I guess four. Four seems good to me. Like I can envision it broken up into four. So let's do four.
Mm. So in your planning process to come up with the stories, how do you come up with the illustrations? Like, how do you partner with the illustrator and you sort of get your vision to the illustrator? How does that come to life for the book covers?
Yeah, no, it's a really fun process actually because I am super involved in it. Not a lot of authors get any say in their covers, which is absolutely terrifying to me. So when it came to looking at the covers for Sir Callie, I was given a few options as far as artists go, and I loved the work that my illustrator did, who is called Kate Sheridan. They do some graphic novels and comics, and I really love that like classic sort of fantasy-esque illustration style. So it made sense for them. And then when it came to it, I usually do a PowerPoint of just like a lot of visuals that I'm imagining. Like, this is the way I imagine Callie to look, and Willow, and Elwyn, and Edwin. Um, if it's specific, I kind of sketch it out in like stickman format because I don't art. And then they go away and they come back with like a few different sketches with a few different poses, and I give feedback on the elements that I like and the elements that I don't like, and then they splush it all together and they come back with something beautiful and colored. And then finally it gets rendered, and it's always the most perfect thing. I
Cool,
do have
cool.
sketches for book 4 if y'all want to see them. It's very exciting.
Sure. I
But
think
it's a
go,
big
go ahead.
if I can. Oh no. Okay, let me see. Um, yeah, my editor always really likes me to have very specific ideas of what I want it to be, as far as scene goes, because she likes to have it very grounded. Whereas I'm very like, I don't know what, like I want these people in there and I want this kind of vibe. Here they are. All right, I'm gonna pull them up and I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, it's so
Okay.
good.
It should be good.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, my wife just arrived. Um, share. You see it?
Yeah. Oh wow.
I'm so excited. I didn't know what just happened. It's fine. There we go. But yeah, so they start out with like these kind of rough sketches of poses and arrangements, and then one second, I'm just gonna close my door because my wife just
Okay.
So now I'm just waiting for the next round of sketches, which will probably be, a mashup of all the bits that I like and none of the bits I don't like. And then eventually we'll look at the color version. And yeah, I'm so excited because, that's the first thing that people see when they pick up the book. So it's always very important to get it right, and so far they have.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay. Are you at all an artist or are you more of a writer?
No, not involvement. I wish I could.
Okay.
I cannot.
So what inspires you to write, or how long have you been writing?
So I've been writing since I was 12, which was 20 years ago. I started writing fan fiction because I was, waiting for a certain book series to continue. um, and I realized that I could write stories about my favorite characters and I could put them up online and people could read them, and that was very exciting to me. So I kind of hyperfixated on that for 10 years. Um, and when it came to deciding what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be, writing stories was really the only thing I was any good at. So I did my degree in creative writing, and it wasn't very useful. But I will say that it gave me the opportunity to really like value myself as a writer. which was nice. Like, this was the time I had to do this thing without anyone going like, it's not really worth doing. It's not making any money. It's like, it's fine. And then when I moved to America with my wife, I was kind of having a bit of a midlife crisis because I didn't know anyone. I couldn't work because of visa stuff. I couldn't drive, and I was in Texas. So when it came to working out what stories I wanted to tell, I really, really struggled because I felt like I didn't really have any stories to tell. And at that point, I discovered NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. It's amazing. It's actually going on right now. It's in November of every year. And the basic premise is you write 50,000 words in 30 days, which is a heck of a lot of words. And I told myself that if I didn't win in 2013, I was going to quit writing forever, which is a really big deal because I can't do anything else. I know. So I don't know how, but somehow I got to the end of a story, a draft, a book, and it was just the most powerful thing that I've ever done. Like, the work was terrible because it was the first draft, but it existed and it was complete, and it kind of just blew my mind. And that was when I realized that, this is what I wanted to do, this is what I could do, and I wanted to pursue it as an author. So I've worked day jobs the whole time, and I like that kind of break, my brain break away from my computer. But the fact that I get to write stories for, middle school kids is so spectacular to me because like that was my favorite time of reading. It's just that sweet spot when you find series that you love and you could just sit down with them and enjoy them and eat snacks and drink tea, and it's great. So the fact that I get to provide books for those moments is really cool to me.
Awesome. I do want to give an opportunity for some of our attendees to ask some questions, but before I do that, would you be interested in reading the first couple pages of your most recent novel?
Yes, I can do that. All right. Do we want the prologue or do we want chapter one?
Chapter one's good.
Chapter one's good. Okay. My dog's being loud in the background.
Let's do the prologue. Oh, you pick.
The
whatever
prologue?
you
You want
like.
the prologue? I mean the prologue. All right. Nick groans in the darkness. The walls and the floor are hard and damp, the coldness seeping into his tunic, which offers no protection against the elements. Even the air tastes foul, though that might just be a symptom of his condition. What is that anyway? Dead? He feels dead. Or as close to dead as is possible to be without actually, dying. Plus, Nick is pretty sure you are not supposed to be in total agony when you're dead. It's kind of one of the perks, or so he's heard. But curse skies above. He touches his side through the tear in his tunic and nearly vomits. It feels like his body is on fire, and there's something there that does not feel like healthy skin. It's scalding hot and tacky to the touch, and if Neil was here, he'd have rushed Nick straight into bed and plied him with all kinds of nasty herbs and potions. But Neil isn't here. Nick fights to remember the last moments before the world turned black in a blast of pain, what he saw when he fell. He can make himself believe that he saw Neil soar away into the sky with Callie and Willow, spiriting them to some safe place, if there even is such a place left in Winterborough. He can picture them as they were in Airwood, happy, protected, and far from this doom. But doom is spreading. Even if they've made it that far, and Lord knows would it be a miracle if they have, Nick knows the plans, and he doesn't have the energy to imagine a haven they could truly escape to. This world was not meant for dragons, Nick. That's what Neil had told him when Nick had asked him. Why? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you trust me? Why would you hide this most beautiful part of yourself? Even though he knew. He was, after all, a knight, and knights kill dragons. They hunt monsters and slaughter them for the protection of the realm, in the name of glory and gain. He remembers his first kill, though little about the creature. He remembers the rush and the pride. He remembers the blood. He remembers the fight being easier than he'd come to expect from all the ballads he had been forced to pore over in class. He remembers being a little disappointed that it was barely a fight at all, the dragon hardly larger than his warhorse Baina. A dragon's a dragon, Richard had said, elbowing him out of his funk. One down, 1,000 to go. That was their plan. Rid the realm of dragons. They would live forever in pages and on stages, known in perpetuity as the greatest heroes Winterborough had ever seen. That first dragon, his first kill, was probably a kid. He would put his head in his hands if they weren't shackled to the wall. Look at the king's champion now. When he dreams of Callie. Good kid. Damn good kid. How they came from him and Karen, Nick couldn't fathom. No, that's not right. Him and Neil. Mostly Neil. Neil saved that kid. Them both. Nick remembers who he was before Neil, and it twists his stomach in a way that has nothing to do with hunger. It's embarrassing, shameful. And if he had a chance to do it all over, he would. 1,000 times, 1,000 different ways. Even if he ended up right back here, so long as Callie and Neil were safe. But that's not how real life works. It isn't a it isn't a book you can close or a ballad in which heroes always triumph over monsters, and Nick isn't a champion anymore. Angst, angst. I got so much grief from the end of Dragon's Roost, I knew I had to start book 3 with Nick's point of view.
You're amazing. Can you tell me before we open up the chat for questions from our lovely audience, how do you come up with the characters? Like what's your character inspiration?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I'm such a character writer. I always start with characters, and it's usually because they just come and hang out with me and they make me write about them. Callie is very me, so they were really easy to get to know and get moving. I've had some characters that just do not want to be a part of my stories, and I have to be like, okay, that's fine. But as far as my Callie kiddos go, I don't know. They're just there. They're just there, and then the story happens around them. I feel more like I'm, a creeper hiding in the bushes watching them and like writing down what they're doing rather than like giving them stage directions, if that makes sense. Yeah, and honestly, all of the characters, it's just a matter of me waiting for them to come and watching them exist. And that sounds really lame, but that's the way my brain works. It's very organic. There's not a lot of planning in there. I don't think about like, oh, I need, this character with these characteristics here or whatever. It's just they're little humans in my brain. And I write them down.
I think that's a perfect answer because as we talk about diversifying literature, and it's come a long way, and it's been quite diversified in the last, I want to say 5 to 6, maybe 7 years. But I think it's important. I think we can all agree it's important that our readers see themselves in the stories, and our readers are just there.
Yeah,
they're just there. So it's
exactly.
important that you can just go into a library, pick up a book, and you find something to resonate with because you're just there in the library. But then these books are so important so that when characters are in books and people are reading about them, you can resonate with who that is, and you can fall in with this character, not in a romantic kind of way, but just really
exactly
how they evolve.
And especially with marginalized characters and characters who don't necessarily always get seen in books, I've had a lot of discussions with a lot of people about this, whether it's queerness or neurodivergence or race or whatever, and it's just about everyone just allowed to be people. And that sounds so easy, but somehow it isn't, I was on a panel talking about neurodivergence, and it was remarkable because every single author there bar one, we were just like, oh, we didn't know they were neurodiverse until afterwards. I didn't set out to write my kiddos as neurodivergent, but like later on I got a lot of messages from readers kind of like, oh man, I like Willow is so autistic, or Edwin clearly has, ADHD. And I'm just like, oh my God, you're right. Like, and those are the parts of myself that are on the page, and I have to like look at myself and say like, what does that say about me? And it was the same with Callie being non-binary. I didn't know that they were non-binary until the second draft. It wasn't planned that way. And that was when I discovered it for myself too, because it was the part in Champions where Callie and Elwyn are talking and they're kind of getting to know each other, and Callie's just sitting there going, I hate girls, I hate dresses, I hate everything. And Ellen's just going, oh my God, you're so embarrassing. This is really weird. And I had to take Callie's side and be like, hey, kiddo, you're kind of being a bit misogynistic right now. What's going on here? And then I realized that, like, it's not that Callie hates girl things. It's that Callie's not a girl and they keep being assigned this gender. And I'm just like, okay, but you're me and I'm you. So what does that mean for me? And, like, that's the thing. Like, if I had set out saying, like, okay, I'm going to write about a non-binary kid who wants to be a knight, I think Callie would have turned out very, very differently than just letting them be themselves and discovering that thing about them separately, if that makes sense. Because
Yeah.
and I feel like a lot of authors who don't have these experiences who try and write about diverse characters, like they're coming into it with this sort of like checklist, and they're just like taking like, oh yes, you have this thing, and this is the way you are, and that's why it always feels a little flat to me when people who don't have that lived experience and don't write from the lived experiences write these people. They don't feel like people anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think now, on the heels of 6:30, we're going to open up the floor to some questions. Does anybody here, if you can just raise your hand physically or your little hand in the window, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Ash.
Okie dokie.
Perfect.
Yes. Oh, right. I forgot there's two of us. It actually gets very confusing in school. Especially since we're in the same classes all the time. It's great.
Oh no. I was once in a class at school that had like 3 different Emilys. So I feel that
Oh,
deeply.
wow. Yeah.
I know. Too many people.
I was going to ask so Kenza and Tio,
Mm-hmm.
they have a relationship we see. Is it like sort of like more of a kinship? Or is
Yeah,
Kenza Tio's like parent?
Kenza is not Tio's parent. It's very like guardian-y. Tio was really the first, no, not the first, this like, so Kenza had Neil, not biological, but like, Neil was the first dragon that Kenza really got into the roost. And then Tio came along, Tio's this little dragon who doesn't know how to be a dragon yet. So Kenza is very like protective of them and wants to not make the same mistakes as what led Neil to like leaving. And it's, Kenza sees all the danger to dragons and he wants to do everything he can to like protect other dragons. So it's very like it's very found family, it's very parental, and I love them so much.
Cool. Fiona?
Hi, I was just wondering what your favorite side character is in your stories.
Ooh, that's such a good question.
It can't be Callie, any other character.
Callie's not a side character.
Yeah, she's not a character.
Okay, because side characters are really hard because like they're all like main characters to me. I think my favorite side character. I don't know. That's a really good question. I like them all. I love Kenza because it's been really fun working them out and realizing like who they are. And I really love Peter because I love that Edwin's starting to have a friend of his own. Um, and I really, really, really love some of the characters that y'all haven't met yet. Ash, I think you're about to meet them, which is very exciting to me. Um, and I love the characters in Airwood that kind of gave Callie their first proper family. Um, I love all of my characters, except for Dan and Perrin. They can do one.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Good question. Yes, Ash. B.
Fiona, have you read the books? The first one.
Okay, we'll be careful to spoilers then.
Yeah.
I'm halfway through the first one.
Good.
Nice.
It's so good.
It's
How are you
very
thinking about it?
I like it. I very much like it.
Oh God. So my question I was gonna ask, but it's a humongous spoiler to book 3.
Oh, you can always ask me after this if we
Yeah,
don't know.
I can ask you after this because it's about things that happen to a certain someone in Helston. and a
There's
certain
a lot of
status
someones in
change.
Helston, so I'm very curious.
A certain
Okay, that's
status change in Helston, if you will.
Oh, that friend. Okay, yeah, we can think of
Yeah,
that.
that yeah, totally a friend. Definitely not somebody who I have thought of strangling.
Oh yeah, no, 0 out of 10 fan would not want him at my party.
Yeah. Like one time I just actually had to like stop reading the book because I was just like,
See,
this
that's the one
guy.
bad thing about audiobooks, and I prefer to read audiobooks, is that I can't like shut the page and throw it down in rage whenever I want to. It's very hard.
Exactly.
So, for our audiobook listeners, do you have any say in who is the narrator, or are you the narrator of the audiobook?
I'm not the narrator. The narrator is Danny Martinek, who's like one of my favorite humans in the whole world. And last week I actually did a little Q&A with Left Bent Books, which is up on YouTube. It's amazing. So when it came to the audiobook, it was a very similar process as the artist, the visual artist. They sent me like a list of people they were thinking of, and Danny was kind of at the top of the list. So I listened to some of their work and some of their books, and I was just like, this is perfect. This is perfect because, my main thing with Callie is that I didn't want Callie to sound like a little girl. That was my biggest thing. And then I was also anxious because we have such a spectrum of characters from like, Elwyn, a young girl, to Nick, who just wants to be retired already, and everyone in between. And I needed someone who could give them life, and that's a very hard thing to do as an actor. And Danny just blew me away so much. We actually met on Zoom first, which I was very thankful for. And I could just tell immediately how much care and attention that they were putting into reading the book. They sent me a spreadsheet with all the little inspirations for all the characters' voices, which was really cool. I think one of my favorites was Elwyn's voice was inspired by Wednesday Addams, which made me happy. And then Willow was Labrador Retriever, which is fabulous. And actually, when it came to writing book 3, I specifically wrote it in multi points of view because I wanted my audio narrator to read it. So it's very much a collaboration. And actually, the character of Tio, just going back to the art, was directly inspired because on one of the initial sketches for the first book, there was this little tiny blue dragon in the corner. And, it wasn't a character in my story. It was just a generic dragon. And like we changed it to Kenzo, who's more specific to book 1. But I'm just like, I really love that little blue dragon. I'm going to put him in my book and make him really important. So, it's funny how all these little things come about without you really expecting them to. And I'm very lucky that I get to have such a close connection to the other people involved.
So we have a very diverse community here in South Orange. We're like 30 minutes outside of New York City on a good day.
Mm-hmm.
No shade to transit. But I want to know, as you talked about character development and some of your favorite characters, a lot of the questions are based on the characters. And you've been writing for a number of years. Who are some of your authors, your inspirational authors that you sort of lean on or are inspired by when writing your own stories?
Yeah, so Callie was very inspired by Tamora Pierce. She was a writer in like the 80s and 90s. She's still writing, but the books that I loved are from then. And she wrote a lot of books about girls wanting to be knights in a very sort of like rigid, patriarchal society. And that like I remember being 10 and being on my like, I can be as good as boys, girls can be as good as boys, ha ha ha, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts kind of mood when I was 10. So when it came to writing Callie, I wanted to write something that I would want to read as a kid. So I definitely went back to Tamora Pierce's work and like looked at all the things that I loved about that. And then one of my other big favorite authors and books is The Prince and the Dressmaker. It's so good. And Callie was very much like, I want to capture the feeling of reading this book on the page for me. And then one of my other favorite authors is Ashbine Ottalu. They've written, I think, 3 books now, and my favorite one of theirs is called A Beautiful Something Else. And it's about a kiddo who's like working out their gender, and they go and stay with, a distant aunt who is part of this like lovely queer community that's like a brand new experience for the main character, and it's so good. A little bit magical, but not very much. It's amazing. And let me see. I have so many books. Flicker is one of my favorite books right now. It's by H.E. Edgman, who also wrote The Witch King. This is their first middle grade book, and it is post-apocalyptic, middle grade, single standalone book. It's so freaking good. I had such a book hangover after this. It's about Millie and Rose, and Millie is non-binary and then Rose is a girl, and it's about their friendship and about like getting through the apocalypse together. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I also love Philip Pullman, especially his Dark Materials. Like so good. And now I'm starting my new series, my post Callie series. Like that's what I'm kind of going back to and like looking into, and remembering all the things that I loved about that and how I can like integrate some of those feelings into my work. So for me, inspiration definitely comes more from like a feeling I get when I'm reading that I want to share with other people in a different way than, specific things, if that makes sense.
Cool. Okay. I have another question for you. If you were to have, or just say a meal with a fellow middle grade author or authors, who would that be?
Oh my goodness, that's really hard. I feel like I've had a lot of meals with my favorite middle grade authors. I'm very, very lucky. If I could hang out with one person that I wouldn't get to hang out with normally, honestly, it probably would be Philip Pullman. Like, I don't think he's gonna come into my DMs anytime soon. I think it'd be really cool to like pick his brain and talk about, writing middle grade that stretches a little bit beyond middle grade. It can be for the grown-ups too, and kind of that balance between, telling a really like well-crafted story, but with the heart of middle grade added into it. I think that'd be really cool.
Cool. Okay. I always have to slip in a question there about food in some way.
I love it. Food's great. Well, there'd probably be more like tea and biscuits than like dinner because I hate talking and eating.
Sure. And then I wanted to know, I always like to ask authors this, do you envision your stories ever going to screen? Being picked
I'm sorry,
up
what was the
by,
question?
do you ever envision your stories going to screen? Maybe a short series, a movie, or being adapted in film?
Oh, I wish. Wouldn't that be great? I would honestly love to see a animated show like Owl House or Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think that would be a really great way to adapt the books. As long as they don't mess it up too much, like, I'll take it, whatever they want to give. It'd be really neat. Like, I'd want to be very involved, especially with the soundtrack, because soundtrack's the most important thing to me. But yeah, that'd be really neat.
Okay.
I would probably cry.
Cool.
I would definitely cry.
Well, I think it's amazing that we're able to have you kick off our Transgender Awareness Week with this virtual author video. I'm so happy to see all of the pride showing up on the screens here. And, oh, hey, Ellie. So happy to see all the pride up on the screens. And, I said this is going to be so chill and laid back, and it really has been. So we have a couple more minutes if anybody has any other questions for Esme.
Yeah.
Out of all of your characters, which one did you like the most based on their character development? Me personally, it's Edwin, but how about you?
Oh, I love Edwin. I love him so
Same.
much.
I mean, he's just like, he makes me so sad.
He makes me so sad, but like, Edwin,
it's also like, yay, you did it at the same time.
I know, and also like, I love Edwin because he is all my messy frustration. And when I was a kid, all my favorite books, like, you know, the only way to get through trauma, the only way to get a happy ending was to come out like shiny and happy, and it was never going to be shiny and happy. So like, shout out to him. But also Willow. And I wanted 4 books specifically for Willow for his development. And I love it. I'm so excited to have everyone see them at the end. I have an epilogue 5 years later. Oh,
Oh my God, wait, what? You have an epilogue?
It was so much joy to write and just to see them be okay. And like,
Oh
I don't
my
think that's because I've said the whole way through, like, it's gonna be a happy ending. Just trust me, it's gonna be
I'm
okay.
assuming they
And
come
to
out
actually
as
get
something.
I know, and actually to get them to that point and give them all the ending that they have earned and deserve, and they're okay. Like, oh yes, thank you. I'm so glad I get to do that.
It's amazing. Okay. Well, any other questions?
And you can always reach out to me at my website if you have anything lingering. Yeah, hit me up. Thanks for having me, and thanks for loving me.
How do we contact you?
Yeah, so I have my website, which is eSymesSmith.com. I'm also on Instagram at Esme_Symes_Smith. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I deleted it, which felt really good. And I'm on Facebook, Esme Wingrove, I think, because it's my legal name. But I'm very reachable. Find me. So I think we're in contact, so you know.
Cool. Would you mind just putting that info in the chat for me?
Yeah, totally. I know that spelling is real hard. Okay. I have my laptop elevated right now.
Okay. So you can see that there in the chat. Esme's Instagram and Facebook, and also their website.
Yes.
And one of the ways that I thought to sort of encourage kids to write is to maybe be a pen pal with an author.
Yeah, no, I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, I love that.
I had always thought to do that, and if I could get a series of authors that, you know, would want to participate in sort of this kind of project, that would be a totally cool thing to do, because again, readers, I should say, are just so amazed, so excited to reach out to their favorite authors, and I think it would inspire them to write a little bit more. So
yeah, and I think it's so cool now, because when I was a kid, like, the authors were such like an ethereal sort of presence that didn't really exist. And now like the newer generation of authors, like, we're all just nerds on the ground together who want to connect with kids and talk about books and be excited about things. So I know that there'll be a ton of authors who would be interested in doing that, and I'm happy to reach out to some if you want. We'll put you in touch with some.
Thank you. That would be great. Okay. Well, Esme, you're amazing. And,
you're amazing. Y'all are amazing.
Well, thank you. This opportunity would not come together if not for one of our patrons who sort of connected the dots. And that's the beautiful thing about South Orange, in that we connect the dots. We are in our own little bubble, and we'll stay here.
That. Yeah, my editor is actually from New Jersey, so I'm always excited when things happen in New Jersey.
Yeah, so thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening, and thank you all for joining us as well. And,
of course. And if anyone wants to stay around and ask me spoilery questions, feel free.
Sure.
Okay. Bye, other friends. It was really nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.
Hope you have a full rest of your evening and enjoy the Thanksgiving break.